What is the most important position on the field in an NRL team? We've got the halfback, many say it's the hooker. A lot of people are talking about fullbacks right now.
But who's holding down the middle? We're here to talk about locks.
Today, we're going to be ranking NRL locks from 17 to 1.
Unfortunately, someone has to come last, and in at number 17 is Isacc Liu from the Gold Coast Titans. Tino moving into the front row means that he will play lock this year, and unfortunately, it's 17 for Isacc Liu.
At number 16, bit controversial here, but we've got Joe Ofahengaue. And look, he's sitting in reserve grade a lot of this year, but he was actually second in post-contact meters and second in offloads as well for the lock position in 2022. So a guy with some talent and a guy who could probably benefit from a new pasture.
At number 15, we've got Josh King. Now, he's been making a few rises in the league this year, but unfortunately we couldn't put him any higher due to the locks being so good this year. But keep your eye on Josh King as he could move further up this list in a few years' time.
Number 14, in the words of Vossi in the rugby league video games, Dale Finucane. Look, really experienced campaigner. It is no coincidence that him arriving at the Sharks has led to success for them. I'm not saying he's the core of that, but he brings a lot of positive culture to his team and he does all the little things right.
Toughest head in the league as well. At number 13, we've got Raymond Faitala-Mariner from the Bulldogs. Now, just got this position recently after being a perennial second rower for a number of years. He's pretty hard to bring down in terms of tackle breaks. I think he's a big body in the middle, but I worry about his motor sometimes, so that's why I think we need to put him at 13 at this point in time.
Still a bit to prove there, and he's similar to this guy at number 12, harawaera-naera. Another guy who's moved from the edge to the middle. He's playing big minutes for Canberra this year. He was third on this list for offloads in 2022 as well, so he's a guy that can create an attack, but we haven't yet seen that consistency from him to have him any higher than this in the list.
I think a bit underrated by his team as well. A guy who moved from the Raiders to the Newcastle Knights. At number 11, we have Adam Elliot. Now, last year, Adam Elliot was one of the form locks in the game. I think I almost had him top 5 at some points last year. Really good offloading ability. Absolute terror in the middle for some teams and can produce a play from anywhere. He's got some real good creativity, just has a bit of an injury at the moment and we couldn't really put him any higher than 11 at this point in time.
At number 10, a guy who has played a few different positions. He's lined up at fullback, centre, edge back row. At number 6, this guy's Jack Bird, and he's one of the more creative guys in this list. He led this list in try assists in 2022, but he did play at centre a lot of that year, so it's a bit hard to factor that in.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's playing big minutes now at lock for the Dragons, and he's looked pretty good there. Good defensive work rate, gets his hands on the ball, seems to be past a lot of those injury problems too. So, yeah, I'm happy with Jack Bird.
I think with Jack de Belin moving into the prop role as well, has definitely helped him gain that spot. At number 9, we've actually gone for a guy who is starting on a team that's only just come into the league, Tom Gilbert. Now, this guy, I was so upset again when the Cowboys let him go because he's just that guy you need on the team to, get a bit of grit in there and be a bit of a grub. Some teams need that, and Tom Gilbert is that guy for the Dolphins. Also, possibly the best motor in the league. I saw him, chase down wingers when he's got no hope of catching him, but it's all heart from Tom Gilbert, and that's what I love.
Well, let's point to that try that Katoni Staggs scored in the Battle of Brisbane. He was running away in the final minutes of the game. Game is over, and Tommy Gilbert went 100 metres with him. Nearly caught him. I mean, if he had done a bit less work, he might have gotten there. Number 8 spot, we have another guy who's taken the league fresh this year too, Jermaine Hopgood for my Parramatta Eels. And Hopgood's been a revelation for Parramatta. Now, in the pros column, he's one of the more creative guys in this list. He produces a lot of offloads. He has set up quite a few tries. He's run through for a few clutch breaks as well. On the downside, he's being asked to play very big minutes right now with the injuries. We had no Madison suspension, no Lane, Junior Polo in and out. He's having to play bigger minutes than he probably should be playing at this point in his career. So that's led to a couple of crucial defensive errors. But he's a young guy, and I'm expecting him to rise right up this list in the next couple of years.
Yeah, a guy that everyone should have had on their Supercoach and fantasy lists for the start of the year. At number 7, we've got Jake Trbojevic. Now, I know he's wearing the number 10 on his back this year, but to us, that means absolutely nothing because Jake Trbojevic is still playing a very crucial role in the middle for Manly, and I would argue that he's possibly the best tackler in the league at this point in time. Absolute axe on the field, chops blokes down, and he's really important to the way Manly play their footy as well in the ball playing category. Sometimes he takes on a little bit too much of it, and that can land Manly in a bit of hot water at times. But he's a great leader out there as well. But I think there's a couple of guys just a little bit more talented than him on this list.
I mean, he's really important though. Like, you look at the Blues last year, and when he came into that team, you could see the difference in the middle. So he definitely sets the tone in defence, and that's a really important part of the game. And that is what just got him ahead of Hopgood. If we were looking at attack, Hopgood's the better player, but just that experience and that ability to lock it down in defence, Jake gets up. In the number 6 spot, we have Jason Taumalolo. Absolute cannonball, just a wrecking ball. No one runs harder than Taumalolo in the NRL. And I wanted to share some stats with you that he leads this list for. So, metres per game, 157 metres per game last year.
Wow.
We've got post-contact metres. That's a crazy one. He's just carrying guys with him. We've got tackle breaks as well. Just impossible to put down. And look, with the ball in hand, he might be number 1 on this list. The only things that I could point to as negatives there would be, when we're looking at that top 5, and we're going to go into them shortly, ball playing ability, offload ability, creative line running, and just that ability to convert field position to points. Some of those guys have that. But Taumalolo, he's number 1 with the ball in hand as far as just trucking it up.
Yeah, dude, he's a genetic freak. I don't know what his parents were drinking at the time of having him, but possibly need a few more of those babies running around at this point in time. Taumalolo, I've loved him for years, and being a Cowboys fan, you love seeing him going out every week and trying his absolute hardest for the Cowboys as well. Also taken on that Tonga role as well, the captain for Tonga. I think that's a big part of his career. And, we've got him locked up for a 10-year period as well. So at number 5, we have Victor Radley, the inflictor. So Radley, it's tough to keep him at number 5 because he could also be higher on this list. But I just think that there's one thing holding Radley back at this point in his career: temperament. And he can get a little bit fired up on the field. He also gets his head in the wrong places in tackles and has spent a lot of time on the sideline recently. But as far as that goes, he has no real holes in his game.
Yeah, one thing that really factors in for me too is representative performance. And Victor Radley was sensational for England in that World Cup recently. He was able to slip into hooker at times. He hopped up on the edges. He was playing in the middle. The thing with Radley is he plays as tough as anyone, but he also can play flashier than most guys on this list too. So he's a guy who could be number 1 in a couple of years' time if things went right for him. But number 5's a safe spot for him. Number 4, cult hero for the Warriors, the big man, Tohu Harris. And he's been on fire to start 2023.
We love Tohu.
Just a freak. I actually saw a clip of him recently when he was back at the Storm. The ball went from Smith to, I think it was Cronk, then to Munster, then to Tohu Harris, and he put a kick in for Josh Adokar. I'm just watching this thinking, how did anyone beat that team?
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Outrageous.
He was on the edge at that point. But look, he's at the Warriors now, and the Warriors are on fire. I think he's a big part of what they've done as far as their forward pack's identity this year. And I think he's one of the best leaders on this list.
Yeah, taking on that captaincy role, extremely important for the Warriors' progression this year. You thought if they were going to do anything, it was going to come through Tohu Harris, and he's delivered on all facets. Getting guys like Adam Fanua-Blake, concentrated on their job as well, big part of that captaincy role. And, he's one of those guys who keeps surprising me. He's one of the guys who's also left the Storm and been very successful as well. So, credit to Tohu Harris on that one. We're getting into our top 3 now. Now, this has been highly contentious between you and I recently, and I've had to go and put Carrigan at 3. Paddy Carrigan for the Brisbane Broncos. And we're not just putting him up here for the Brisbane Broncos performance this year. We're doing it on the back of last year's performance as well. Because Carrigan, in the last couple of years, has just absolutely taken the comp by storm. He won the Wally Lewis medal in his debut games in Origin as well. And that's never happened before. I just think that Carrigan is an outstanding player and deserves a bit more credit for what is going on at the Brisbane Broncos. And he signed up for another 5 years as well.
Yeah, I was listening to an interview on the way here. Triple M was talking to Adam Reynolds, and he was talking about the fact that the Broncos, he loves having Carrigan there because there's another guy talking to everyone, and it's not just him sort of playing that senior leadership role. And that's crazy, because how old's Carrigan?
He's 23.
He's 23, but he's been spoken about by Reynolds as another senior leader in that Broncos team. So, yeah, he's excellent. He's a guy who could be number 1 on this list at a point in his career, and probably should be number 1 at some point. The other thing to look at too is the Broncos' middle forwards are their biggest strength, and he's the leader of that, along with Payne Haas, who, when we do prop rankings, it's hard not to have him at number 1.
Yeah.
And, Tom Flegler, who's not a bad player either.
That Broncos forward pack is phenomenal at the moment, and a lot of it revolves around Carrigan and Payne Haas, as you mentioned. It also makes the Maroons look a lot scarier in Origin this year as well. Their forward pack's getting a lot better, but also younger, which is scary.
Yeah, no, he is good. He was also second last year in metres per game on this list, so 150 metres per game. On top of all that defensive work he's doing too. Second on this list, and look, the top 2 guys, they're both A-plus rated lock forwards. They're just both standout guys, both guys who lead their clubs, both guys who elevate everyone around them. In the second spot, this changed just before we were filming, when we were discussing at the last minute. We went with Isaah Yeo at second. So Isaah Yeo, look, multi-premiership winner, sensational defensive work rate, extremely creative ball player, and just central to what Penrith do. He has become one of the best players in the comp. And I would say both these guys in the top 2 for locks are top 10 players in the NRL. Yeah. So let's get that established here. They are hard to split. But Isaah Yeo has been a massive part of Penrith's success. He's just a guy who turns up every single game and does the exact same thing and just can be relied on. So, yeah, I love Isaah Yeo there.
Yeah, between 70 and 80 minutes every single week as well. He's the glue of that Penrith side. The real calming influence I see, with Penrith, they often get, criticised for their, arrogant young players. And I think Isaah Yeo is such a little, calming influence to all those guys that, once he's on the field, he's the guy talking, he's the co-captain, he, calms the situation down. And that's the kind of guy you need to keep those kind of guys in check as well. And it's no secret as to why they've won 2 comps in a row. I think it's a lot to do with Isaah Yeo.
Yeah, I was actually chatting to the Misso, and she was watching an interview with Isaah Yeo. She's a Tigers fan.
So she was crying.
She was not happy after the Broncos game or any of this 0-5 start. But... yeah, she sort of saw that as well and said, is that why the Tigers aren't winning? Because we don't have a guy like that who's calm and on point and just focused on our jobs. And maybe it is. I mean, Tigers are trying to recruit that, but you can't buy Isaah Yeo.
It seems like you can't buy, wisdom. And that's what Isaah Yeo brings a ton of. And now, the moment that everyone has been waiting for, been highly debated by us, and it will be highly debated by, I'm sure, you guys. At number 1, we have the South Sydney Rabbitohs captain, Cameron Murray. Murray only just beats out Isaah Yeo due to that slight bit more versatility. I think that Murray showing that he can go to Origin, and though he's not playing his favoured position at lock, but he gets picked in the second row, means that he is the premier lock because he can move to other positions on the field and still have success.
Yeah, he's sensational. Absolute freak. I would say, and I don't have this stat on hand, but I would say Murray leads the league in play the ball before a try stat because he just shatters the defensive line every time he runs the ball. Other thing I want to point out, again, 3 stats Murray leads on this list. Offloads, line break assists, and tackles per game.
Yeah.
How about that? So the expansive, creative, offensive creativity, and then also the defensive work rate, even though he doesn't play as many minutes as some of these other guys, it's just a credit to him.
It seems like he has no weakness as well. I find it so strange sometimes when the Rabbitohs take him off for a period, and you watch the Rabbitohs when that happens, it turns to complete garbage. I wouldn't say complete garbage, but there's a little bit of weakness there, and opposition teams know it. They're like, Murray's off the field, we've got to score some points. So I think with Demetriou, he's got to use him a bit wiser. I think maybe giving him 70 to 80 minutes, similar to Isaah Yeo, minutes per game. But with Murray, since Adam Reynolds has left, his ball-playing ability has also gone to another level. If he's out, then they lose so much attacking potency. They lose, that shape that they so want to have those tries delivered to Alex Johnston, delivered to the right edge to Isaac Thompson as well. It's just one of those things where if Murray's out of the game, you can pretty much write off the Rabbitohs.
Yeah, that's what it came down to. So deciding between Yeo and Murray, we just asked ourselves, which one are you more scared of? If you were facing a team that had one of them, which one are you more scared of? And the answer was Murray. So Murray number 1. That's our lock rankings for today. We've done 5/8 rankings last week. We're releasing rankings every Monday, so be sure to check those out. And next week we'll be doing another position. Let us know in the comments which one you'd like to see.